Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to Wits Sport. It's Shaman here again from Wits Sport, and quite fortunate today in that I'm getting to chat to two of my favorite rugby coaches, favorite rugby legends from KZN. They're both currently working at Westville Boys High School. With me today, I've got Waylon Murray. Waylon is the current director of sports at Westville Boys High. I think first and foremost, he's a father to a handsome young boy. He's a husband. He's a quartermaster, and he's the director of sports at the school. So he plays a massive role at Westville Boys. I'm sure everyone will recognize him. Waylon played in the first team at Westville Boys High in 2004, I think it was. We also played in the Craven Week side with Jubs, who I have below me here, also on the video. Quite a talented Craven Week. It was made up of Jubs himself, guys like Brad Barrett, Alistair Hargreaves. Then Waylon went on to play club rugby for the first team at Jaguars. Ended up playing in the Currie Cup for the Sharks. Moved on to playing Super Rugby for the Sharks in 2010. Then he moved to the Lions, where he played a couple of seasons for the Lions, played Super Rugby for the Lions. Moved to the Kings, newly formed franchise. Moved to the Kings in the Eastern Cape. Then had a stint for the Blue Bulls up in Pretoria. Then moved back to the Sharks. Then moved back to the Kings, and finally ended his career playing club rugby in France. And I think a school like Westville Boys is quite fortunate to have someone like Waylon as the director of sport. So it's great to catch up with you, Well. And then I've got Zulu. Jubs and Waylon were actually a center pairing at Westville Boys High. They were also the center pairing for the Sharks Craven Week team in 2004. Jubs went on to play rugby at the next level up in Johannesburg, where he played under 19 rugby for the Lions. Also played under 21 rugby for the Lions. Studied at UJ. He's got a degree in journalism through UJ. Also coached the UJ Young Guns team. As well as coach club rugby at the Wanderers and Pirates. He's currently the first team, one of the first team coaches at Westville Boys High, along with Jeremy McLaren. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining me this morning. I'm really looking forward to the chat.
Thanks for having us, Shaman.
Waylon, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, being in a management role at Westville Boys High, it's quite a challenging time going through this pandemic together. If you can just maybe share with us, what's it been like at Westville Boys with the boys and the staff during this period, and what sort of plans have you guys put in place to keep the guys sort of academically fit and physically fit at the same time? Is there anything special you guys are doing? And obviously, in the boarding house, there are lots of staff that stay in the boarding house and what's it been like?
Yeah, I think it's obviously been challenging, but it's been challenging for everyone. It's kind of like a new world. Everything just stopped and we into this new place. So I think it's been challenging to a certain degree, but I must admire how Westville Boys High have been proactive, obviously from the academic side of the ball. They've implemented Google Classroom. They've made sure to get the teachers up and running in terms of the content that they can post online. And I think it's been well received. The kids have been logging on and registering. So in terms of how much they've actually lost in this time, although it is inevitable that we will lose a bit of that teaching time with the kids, but obviously we obviously minimizing the damage, so to speak, with all these days being in lockdown and quarantine. In terms of a sporting side, I think we've also tried to be proactive. We are lucky that technology is what it is in this day and age. So a lot of our boys are on WhatsApp groups, and our coaches have been making sure to check in with them and check how they have been improving in terms of their workload and what they've been doing in quarantine. So we've released for the next 4 weeks a lean quarantine program that's on our D6. Rogan Commons has made sure to put a lot of content up for the boys. Obviously, we hope that they actually do the work. We have encouraged them to post videos and to make a fun thing out of it, so we all can kind of improve together. So yeah, we've implemented say a 4-week stage now, which will end on the 30th of April. Thereafter, we'll obviously have to see where we're at in terms of what the quarantine and what the government allows us to do post lockdown. I'm sure they'll have an implementation plan in terms of how schools will come back. And obviously, from the sporting front, we're not sure how the calendar is going to look. But I must say, we've got a really good staff, sporting staff, as you would know, that have come together in many aspects to make sure that our boys stay accountable and also stay professional in this period. And also we've tried to create programs for all the boys, not only our elite sportsmen, so that every boy is keeping moving and staying fit and staying healthy. And obviously that mental well-being is obviously important, especially when you are confined to small sections, which most people are, you know. So trying to get the whole school involved and busy in this time has been difficult. But I think the planning that has gone in, especially in terms of our conditioning and our sports staff, I think has made this transition a lot easier. Obviously, we don't know what will come post-lockdown, but I think we've tried our best to minimize the damage from the academic calendar as well as from the sporting front.
Yeah, thanks for that, Waylon. I think you know, just obviously my opinion, which you know I can share because this is my video. You know, I've always said that Westville Boys High was a top academic school in South Africa, a top boys academic school in South Africa. Not only in terms of output, in terms of student performance during matric exams, but I think overall the whole 5 years at Westville Boys High, the staff. Like you mentioned, the staff, hardworking staff, you know, willing to put in 24-hour days. Yeah, and it's obviously, I mean, I wouldn't have expected anything less than what you've mentioned now. You know, I think the crux of this entire situation is going to come at the end of this lockdown, and you know what you're saying in terms of we're not sure what the state is going to do after the lockdown and the sort of regulations they're going to put in place. And yeah, I mean, hopefully we're going to get to have a winter sports season, if any. Jabsy, I'm going to come to you now. Obviously, you know, we've been tracking the first team at Westville Boys High over the last 2 years. I think this year, you know, I don't want to. You know, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I definitely feel that Westville has one of the top rugby teams or first teams in the country for 2020. Obviously, a lot of dreams are being shattered at the moment. We're not sure whether they're going to be Craven weeks and Grand Coma weeks. But I think as a first team, there are a lot of boys at Westville that were looking forward to putting on that one stripe jersey. And yeah, you know, what's it been for you guys, like as a team? If you can just share with us and maybe just give us a few insights about what that team was all about this year, and if we do get to watch them play, what's it going to be like?
Yeah, firstly, Shaman, it was very disappointing. Managing the disappointment and now there's a lot of anxiety. So do you think we'll get back? If we get back, can we play in the third term? So can we scrap sevens? Can we? So it's been a difficult time. A lot of these guys have been looking forward to this year, and Jeremy and myself, when we arrived in 2018 for that season, and we've always envisioned this being the big season. You're not wrong when you say this is the season where we really do back ourselves. The expression goes that you've got to lose to learn. And our expression this season, going into the season, has been, we don't have to lose to learn this season. We've learned our lessons last year. So this was a season where we were really going to reap rewards. So it's a tough one to swallow, but nonetheless, it is what it is. It's about now trying to get on top of things mentally, staying healthy, staying fit, so that if we come back, let me put positive energy in the air. When we come back, that we're ready to go. In terms of our team, I'm incredibly excited. You'll know some of the players, guys like Mambo and Blue in the centers. Having played our one game against DHS, the guys went really well. And I mean, these guys, besides the physical, the talent that they possess, just mentally, I think they on a level which is really exciting. They really back themselves against the very best schools, and I think a lot of that came from, and I'll give credit to Jeremy, which came a lot from the 7th season that we had last year, where the guys were, I think they lost 2 games in the entire season. That's in all the tournaments. So if we're talking about 40, 50 games, they lost 2 games in that whole season. And that's including the Greys, the RTS Middleburgs, when we went and played in the national tournament. And I think a lot of that confidence has gone into this season as well. And yeah, so it's very disappointing not to have that season. But a guy like I said, Mambo, a guy like Mlu, and then we have youngsters that are putting up their hands as well. Against DHS, we had a guy, Matt Caldecott, who some might have said he's way too small. Jeremy and I love to pick these guys that are underdogs. He really put up his hand. I don't think Matt weighs more than 10 kg. Well, he weighs more than 10. I don't think he weighs more than 70 kgs. And he put up his hand. His passes. If you're skillful enough, you're good enough. So there's a lot of guys that are ready to put up their hands, and it's exciting for Westville.
Yeah, Jabsy, obviously it's like I said, a few dreams might be shattered this year just in terms of just putting on the Westville first team jersey. But yeah, quite exciting times, I think, for you to mention a youngster like Caldecott. I think I watched his older brother also come through the system. Little guys, but big hearts, and I think that's what Westville Rugby has been about over the last 10 years. A lot of underdogs coming through the system. But yeah, we look forward to seeing guys like Mlu and Bambo Mkiz, hopefully moving on to play franchise rugby. An exciting time for those boys. Waylon, just in terms of your rugby playing career, obviously towards the back end of your career, there were a few injuries that maybe hindered you a little bit, and you maybe could have played a few more Springbok rugby games. How does this pandemic or this national disaster fare in terms of an elite sportsman or high performance sportsman going through an injury that sort of takes him out for a couple of months? How does it compare? Is it something that you compare with the situation that the athletes are going through right now?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's been taxing all around, especially on the sporting front. It's obviously a global pandemic, but when you follow these elite sportsmen, just to see how they're trying to keep fit and stay healthy, guys have had to think outside of the box, and I think in many regards, I think they've had to be more creative with their discipline in terms of what they were working on. So I can imagine it must be quite a tremendous task for the coaches, especially if I think about the rugby unions and Super Rugby affected, because I think everyone wants to keep momentum going. And just listening to Jabs now, and you see all the blood, sweat, and tears, not only from the coaching staff, but from the boys, and the amount of work they put in. So when something like this happens, it obviously takes the wind out of your sails. But you have to understand and see the bigger picture. And obviously we are trying to curb a global catastrophe. And I think everyone understands that, although it might be difficult not watching sports on a weekend. I think it is obviously this pandemic is grandiose in nature. And obviously it's forced our kids and our coaches to be more creative and to be more innovative. And I think from an injured person's aspect, someone that's being rehabilitated, I can imagine that's got to be tough as well. So I think, like Jabs mentioned early on, keeping yourself mentally fresh, I think, is probably even more important than the work you're going to do to get yourself ready for that inevitable end of lockdown.
And well, on just obviously just just for our viewers and hopefully the Westville community, the Westville boys and staff, your most memorable sporting moment in your playing career.
Yeah, obviously I've had a lot of good moments, a lot of bad moments. But if I can take one moment, I think I was playing. I think it was 2008 break up, and we were playing at Loftus. And then I think it was about 10 minutes into that game. It was just a round robin game, and I was trying to steal a ball at a ruck, and the ref had blown the whistle. Way after the fact, I can't remember which Blue Bulls flanker, but he hit me so late from the side. I mean, I was finished rolling on the floor. I've never felt that amount of pain before in my life. And obviously, with the Blue Bulls fans, they're very loud, so you could hear them spurring on the illegal action of their player, which wasn't great for me being on the ground. But obviously, I think looking up from that ruck, trying to see what had happened, and I saw Johan Ackerman grabbing this Blue Bulls player. So here's me in the midst of all this pain and anguish, and Johan Ackerman is saving the day, so to speak. And he eventually punched this person and got a red card. So for me, that moment stands out because of Johan Ackerman obviously coming to my aid and getting a red card and coming to rescue me in that moment. But obviously, we played with 14 men for, I think, 70 minutes against a very good Blue Bulls team. And we eventually got the victory. So I remember Dickie put on the intercom to our doctors on the field, and he said, guys, just scrap the game plan. We're going to play what we see. And it ended up being quite a nice game. Guys were forcing passes and doing some outrageous things. And it was one of those days where everything came off. And we beat them quite handsomely at Loftus. So for me, out of my whole career, that one always sticks at the back of my mind, beating the Bulls at Loftus 2008 with 14 men.
Fantastic. It's definitely a great memory. Jabzi, in terms of you, your most memorable sporting moment, doesn't have to be rugby. I know you also played second team cricket for Westville boys, huh?
And first team soccer, please, Shams.
And first team.
No, my best memory would have been on Loftus as well, not quite at the elite level as Waylon. But in my under-21 year, we were playing against Loftus as the Lions, and we were behind, and I came on off the bench, and I scored a try to keep us in the game. We ended up drawing that game. Rory Cockett to get a 55-meter kick to draw us the game. We ended up getting to the finals of that competition, and we lost to the Bulls in the last minute of the tournament, where they kicked an up and under, and the safest hands in our team, Jean Daisel, actually knocked on. They picked up and they scored. But to be able to score the try, come off the bench, and score the try to keep us in the game was awesome. And it's something that I actually speak to my players a lot, is staying connected to the game when you're not on the field. In that under-21 season, I think I started one game that was against the Griquas. The rest of the games, I started off the bench and I would come on for little cameos. But so when they disappointed, I say, guys, I know what you feel like. I was that guy in my career. That particular season, I played a lot off the bench. And you can't. Bafana Ntlego was one of my mentors, my good mate of mine. He always talks about it as the train arriving at the train stop. And if you're not ready to get on, you're not mentally there, then the train will always go past you. So when that opportunity comes, you've got to be ready to take it. So yeah, that was one of my favorite moments in that. I was always ready to get on and make a difference for my team.
It's another entertaining story there, Jabzi. I think just for me, something really important that you mentioned there is trying to stay connected to the game whilst you're on the bench. And for me, one of the things that I've tried to work on over the years as a coach is how do you keep your bench players relevant to the game? Players that might get onto the pitch, players that might not get onto the pitch. I mean, I can just share a little story with you. I was coaching the first team at Westville. I think it might have been 2014. 2013 or 2014, somewhere around there. It was 0-0 against Northwood away at Northwood. I had a youngster on the bench, Carl White. Actually, he was a matric boy. Listen, he wasn't the best hockey player in the world, but just a hard-working chap. And I decided to take him down to the game, and I thought he can just, he'll just sit on the bench. I wasn't sure whether he was going to get on the pitch. He sat the entire game on the bench. 2 minutes to go. I turn around, I look over my shoulder. Craig Curran was the assistant coach. I said, Craig, should we give Carl maybe this last 2 minutes? I look at him and Craig says, yeah, let's give him. So we put him on the pitch. He gets onto the pitch, first touch, bang, goal. We 1-0 up. Goes back to the pushback. Northwood pushback. We get the ball back. Second touch, bang, goal. So he scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes and won us the game 2-duck. But it's something that I took home and I went, what was this guy doing on the bench for the entire game? For him to go onto the pitch and produce 2 absolute crackers. But definitely a great take home for me from that story, Jabsy. Gentlemen, it's been absolutely fantastic having you guys with me for the morning. Some great stories. Really looking forward to see what Westville Sport and Westville as a school is going to produce over the next 3 to 5 years. Certainly, in my opinion, one of the top state boys schools in the country, if not the top school. And you two blokes are definitely in great positions at the school to take the school forward. Good luck for the rest of this lockdown. Waylon, obviously keep your family safe. You've got a handsome young boy growing up there, and keep your wife safe. And then Jabsy, hopefully lockdown is going to be good to you over the next sort of 10 to 12 days. And we'll chat soon. Thanks very much, chaps.
Thanks, Showman. Thanks for having us. It was good fun.